The Out of Bounds Show podcast is powered by the DeWalt tools at Ace Bolt and Screw. Visit acebolt.net for a location near you.
WRKS Pickens Jackson.
You ready?
Let's go! 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now live in the Bank Plus studio, where college football meets the all lifestyle.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is
The Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds, streaming around the world live at the Out of Bounds radio app and on your radio at ESPN 105.9.
Where are you?
The Zone.
Woo! All right. Did we do the real intro? Awesome. Good morning. Welcome in to the Out of Bounds Show on 105.9 The Zone, ESPN, WRKS. Thanks for making us your sports and entertainment show of choice in the great state of Mississippi. Thank you for streaming the show on all the platforms that you can stream it on, including the Out of Bounds radio app. Several different ways that you can hit us up, hang out with us today. You can start with the Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line, 601-707-3750. Twitter handle at BoBounds. And the Mississippi Ag John Deere Tractor text line, 601-885-3776. Hope you had a great weekend. We did. Really good weekend. And a little rain doesn't hurt every now and then. You just get to kind of chill out. I'm almost finished with the Payton and Brees book, but I do have some thoughts on it that I will share. Life After Brees, I don't think is going to be awesome. But, boy, I'm going out on a limb there. But, man, when you read that book and you go behind the scenes, what it takes to win in the NFL, where everybody's supposed to go 8-8, it is. I love that. Take me behind the scenes. That's pretty cool, and that book's awesome. To get you to Labor Day, you may want to buy that book by Jeff Duncan, Payton and Brees, because it's awesome, regardless of your team. It's just a great way to pull back the curtains and really have an opportunity to see how it all works, because all we see is Sunday, all the glitz and glamour. It ain't glitz and glamour, man. Woo. Goodness gracious. Drew Brees. What a freak. We'll talk about that today. Last night, I don't know if I've watched that much of the Major League Baseball draft, so I was solo last night. Wendy and Ella Hall had something, and then my son's really never there. So he was out and about. And so it was just me and Rex. That'd be my dog. And we had several conversations. I'm not sure how much he soaked up and soaked in, but I thought it was definitely game-changing type stuff. I think I went over my monologue with him a couple of times. And he did get a treat out of it. But he watched the Major League Baseball draft with me. And, I didn't think there was really anything else on. I've done some Netflix this summer. I'm kind of tired of that. And so I did Major League Baseball. Congratulations to, Will Bednar and Gunnar Hoagland. That's pretty awesome. They literally, in one phone call, they became multimillionaires.
Ooh, baby.
Yeah, their bank account and tax status changed within seconds. And there you go, man. Will Bednar, number 14. That may have been, some people may have thought, well, I knew he had a great college world, and he did. He was the most valuable, MOP, most outstanding player of the College World Series, in which he took the ball 3 times and shoved it into the strike zone against really good teams. And, was just dynamic and special. And he'll go down. He may be the best ever in the postseason in the history of the state of Mississippi. You look at what he did in the Super Regional against Notre Dame, a phenomenal team. And then the fact that he actually got the ball 3 times in Omaha against phenomenal baseball teams and rose to the occasion, so to speak, right? It's pretty remarkable. And so he goes 14th, and Blake told me he's slotted at just over $4 million. Who knows exactly where they'll land, so to speak, but give or take, sounds like good money to me.
He's the big wolf in the dog.
He is. He's got that stuff, you know. You could just tell he had the mojo working in the postseason. And because he wasn't pitched too much, he had enough juice and gas in the tank to perform against Notre Dame. Not that he didn't perform in the regional, by the way, but to perform against Notre – what was he? I mean, I know he didn't get a decision in the walk-off on Saturday, but he pitched winning baseball regardless of quote-unquote W's. Obviously, he got a win in the game 3 of the National Championship Series, but basically he had 5 outings in the postseason that were incredible.
Yeah.
And so he goes early. And then Gunnar Hoagland had Tommy John surgery and doesn't miss a beat. I mean, you know, he has his name called early too. Ole Miss pitcher who was phenomenal for Ole Miss and had a great career. And most everybody's coming back from Tommy John, which is awesome and remarkable. So Gunnar Hoagland is off the board, and then they both had a couple of high school signees. Ole Miss, theirs went number 3 last night.
Jackson Jobe.
And Mississippi State's went number 29. Signee out of Alabama?
Yeah, Maddox Bruns.
Okay.
Left-handed pitcher.
Maddox Bruns, and who did you say?
Jackson Jobe went 3rd overall.
Those sound like baseball players.
Yeah, Ole Miss is signing.
All right, cool.
Will
That sounds like when you're like in a AA ballpark.
Yes.
And you hear those names, and you just got your cold beer, right?
Yeah.
You got your peanuts, and you may have some nachos there, and you're getting settled on a good night of baseball. Those are names that you hear.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Cool.
Bednar 14th to the Giants out of San Francisco.
Will Clark handed over the envelope.
Pretty cool.
Some guy named Will Clark. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
No. And then Gunnar Hoagland 19th to the Toronto Blue Jays.
You know, I was never really into the Blue Jays because we didn't get to watch them as a kid. I got to watch the Expos because of TBS and WGN.
Yes.
And we got it early in like 80, 81, which was kind of a big deal, I guess. And I don't know if we had access to it early because I lived in Belhaven, which was downtown then. But I was a Tim Raines, Andre the Hawk Dawson, and Gary Carter, Montreal Expos fan.
Hello.
But you didn't get much of the AL when I was growing up, Blake. The game of the week on Saturday, you could get the AL, but you got Cubs Braves and who they were playing.
Yeah.
So I didn't gravitate to Toronto because I got Montreal all the time. And Montreal played in this crazy place where they had AstroTurf.
Yes.
Which you thought was wild back then because it was like playing on today is so much better.
Yeah.
It was like diving. There's a reason why Andre the Hawk Dawson's knees were shot at an early age. It was like playing on concrete.
Yeah, the Metrodome.
Like when every now and then you got a football, when you were a kid, every now and then you would get a football game up on some concrete just because that was your only option. That's what the Expos played on.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, terrible.
And then the Blue Jays broke my heart. And what year did they win it? 93? They had Jack Morris and...
they won it in 92 and 93.
92 and 93.
That's right.
Yeah. Did they beat the Braves in one of those years?
I'd have to check and tell
Wasn't
you.
real cool if they did. I can't remember if they beat Maddox, Smoltz, Glavine, and Avery in that 92, 90. Maybe that's why I've been mad
92.
at them. They beat the Braves in 92? Yeah. Okay. Who'd they beat in 93? Well, we'll figure that out on the other side. The Out of Bounds Show is powered by the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook. Hey, the odds, wins, win totals, all that's up for football season. There's some value there for the NFL and college football at the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook, an award-winning Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. And don't forget about my spot, Philip M's. I like to eat in the bar. Super cool. Again, it's old-style Vegas. I think we're going to Vegas in August, like the real Vegas. Or we may be going to Start Vegas, too. We'll be back in a second. Big Board next. The Out of Bounds Show podcast is brought to you by Boar's Head. Premium meats, cheeses, and hummus. Boar's Head. Compromise elsewhere.
What's on the big board?
Good morning. Will Bednar drafted 14th in the Major League Baseball draft last night by the San Francisco Giants, and Gunnar Hoagland, number 19, by the Toronto Blue Jays. One goes to the NL, one goes to the AL and Canada. Well, I mean, doesn't go straight to Canada. He'll have to go through the minor leagues. But if he makes it, and we expect those two guys to make it eventually, then he will play in Toronto, which is kind of cool. Blake let me know that I was spot on, but the Blue Jays won back-to-back in 92-93. That's
right. Over two NL East teams, the Braves first and then the Phillies second.
Oh. You know, I think that's when Dykstra and Dalton were with the Phillies. Because wasn't that guy's name Dalton? I think he was their catcher. He dated a Playboy playmate, and that was like a big deal.
Darren Dalton.
Was it Darren Dalton?
That's correct.
Yeah, if that doesn't sound like a bouncer in Roadhouse, then I don't know what does. That definitely sounds like Patrick Swayze's character in Roadhouse, or his buddy.
Yeah.
That's there to help him.
His name is Dalton in that movie, so yeah.
It is Dalton.
Yeah,
you're right.
So there you go.
You're right. You could, yeah.
You know who was on that team? Al Leiter.
Kurt Schilling?
Well, Kurt Schilling was on the Phillies, but Al Leiter was on that.
Jack Leiter's son.
Isn't
Jack
that funny?
Leiter went, what, second, third?
2 to my Texas Rangers.
Jack Leiter out of Vanderbilt went second, and Kumar Rocker went 10th to the Mets?
10th to the Mets. He'll be pitching with Cole Gordon and Jake Mangum. And yeah, Antoine Duplantis out of LSU.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kurt Schilling. So Schilling didn't win a World Series until the Diamondbacks, and then he won another one with the Red Sox.
Yeah, the bloody sock game, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But Schilling did not get one with the Phillies. They lost to the Blue Jays.
They lost to the Blue Jays.
Okay.
They beat the Braves 4-2 in the NLCS to get to the World Series.
That ticks me off.
Braves were close to being. It was about to be Jays Braves 2 years in a row, man.
You know, they only got one World Series out of that. It's tough. It's kind of like the Saints and Breeze. They're a lot, which is still good and very extremely difficult. But man, even if you just get one more, it's
or get back to one more.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you know, the Saints, that's the question. You had 2 opportunities to just be in the Super Bowl potentially. And if you're in the Super Bowl, you could win the Super Bowl. So you didn't even get back to the game, so to speak, you know? It's kind of like what we talked about with Paul Maneri, right? You only made 2. If you just make one more, whether you win it or lose it, but especially if you win it, if you could make one more. The Saints only made 1 Super Bowl, and they won it, thank goodness, for the Saints. But as you've mentioned earlier in the segment, what happens without Drew Brees now? Is this going to be a lot more difficult than maybe we're expecting?
Well, yes, it is going to be extremely difficult without Drew Brees. I mean, you're taking a gigantic step back with Jameis Winston. And then the question is Sean, will Sean have the patience knowing that over 14 years that they could put on Drew, it's just not the same deal. You know?
He's one in a... I don't think people understand, like, again, and this is why you have to read this book by Jeff Duncan. I don't think you can quantify... I don't think we did a good job, either as sports fans or sports media people, and I don't mean just you, I mean everyone that covers the NFL, of explaining what made Drew Brees different. It wasn't the physical trait, it was the mental trait. We talked about, everybody said Peyton Manning, the cerebral quarterback. And that was true.
Yeah.
And Tom Brady was cerebral too, but I don't think anyone ever did a good job of highlighting what Drew Brees was doing behind the scenes to make himself so successful on the field.
They didn't. And if you read any of it,
it
any
blows
of the
your
Peyton
mind.
And Brees book, then it will blow you away.
It's incredible the work that, like Jeff said on this show, and we'll have to play that interview again before the season starts. Drew would stay in the office 2 hours late to go over 50 variations to answer one defensive play call that a team had run 1% of the time all season.
Right. And also, when you read the book here, Lombardi and Carmichael are quoted in the book, and they're the quarterback coach and OC. So they give a different perspective than Sean and Drew, which I like in the book. And Lombardi said, who's been there for a long time, he said, it's a coaching maxim, and it's probably a good one. Keep it simple. We don't do that here. They add 30 to 35 new plays every year on top of what they call a PhD level playbook. Luke McCown, who was a backup for several years, basically said this is not for everybody. And he talked about different people that would come in to the Saints on the offensive side of the football, and some of them just couldn't handle it. It's too much. What Peyton and Brees have put together.
Well, and how do you come into that like in year 10 and take all of that at once, right? As a rookie, or even a vet coming from another program. It's incredible.
And Brees' film sessions are legendary in the building. And on Tuesdays when players have off, Brees gets there before dawn. I mean, before the sun comes up, and stays until dark, until nighttime. That's on Tuesday.
On the off day.
On the off day. And something else that jumped out at me in the book was that you do not talk about where you went to dinner the night before. You don't talk about if there was some amazing dunk by the Pelicans, who's the NBA team. That it is understood that when you go, there's this room that he took over years ago. It's the tight end coach, Dan Campbell, the knee biter.
Yeah.
Okay. Brees took over Dan Campbell's office years and years ago the quarterback room, because it's right off the big player meeting room. They could have gone upstairs, but because of time, I don't know how much time it takes. No, seriously.
He wanted to cut the 35 seconds
He wanted to cut time off of going upstairs another room.
That's hilarious.
And they said over time, Brees just made that his room. So he sits in there with, it's Brees and the backup QBs. And that Dan Campbell Dan is always meeting upstairs with Brees and Carmichael and Lombardi. And that Campbell, once Brees gets into film watching, like on a marathon 10 or 12 hour day, that Campbell can come in the room and grab a folder or a binder, and Brees doesn't know it.
That's incredible.
Yeah, Luke McCown and others talk about how somebody can walk in the room, and he is so locked in to whoever they're breaking down, the Atlanta Falcons or Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that he doesn't know that but you're not talking about where you could be going to dinner that night with your wife. That's not allowed.
Business.
It's in the book.
That's incredible.
That's incredible. He doesn't want to hear about, an awesome Sports Center highlight or anything. It is, you walk in there, it's business. And they could be in there for 12 hours. And they said Drew will look at one play and he'll go back
and back
and back, and he'll rewind it again and again because something bothers him. Like there's something that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are doing on a certain play, and he's trying to find something within the 11 defenders to tip their hand / a tendency, right? It's incredible. One play, and he'll just go sit there forever And Luke McCown says, you're either built to go through that with Drew or you're not. The question is, how much of this is rubbed off on Jameis Winston? Life without Brees could be very interesting. SEC Insider Hit coming up next.
The Out of Bounds Show podcast is powered by Breezy Oaks Ranch. For Mississippi-raised premium Wagyu beef and heritage pork shipped straight to your door, visit breezyoaksranch.com.
This is the SEC Insider Hit. Presented by your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Go local. Go with a home team.
And your Mississippi Ag John Deere tractor text line is 601-885-3776. 885-3776. Want to say good morning, welcome in. Text line brought to you by your next John Deere tractor. Manage your land. Manage your land with the John Deere tractor from Mississippi Ag. 2 locations in the metro area, Canton and Pearl. Agup.com to find a retail location nearest you. Good morning, welcome in. Congratulations to Will Bednar, most outstanding player of the College World Series. National champions, Hale State baseball team, grabbed the ball 3 times during the College World Series and was just in fuego. How about that? Dynamite. Just capped off an unbelievable season with a great performance against Notre Dame and 3 great performances in the College World Series. He goes 14th last night in the first round of the Major League Baseball draft, 14th to the San Francisco Giants. And Will the Thrill, Will Clark, handed the envelope to whatever Major League Baseball rep that eventually drops it off to Rob Manfred, who is the commissioner of MLB. Will Clark, who obviously played 83, 84, 85 for MSU. And then just a few picks later, Gunnar Hoagland from Ole Miss heard his name called at 19 to the Toronto Blue Jays. And then Ole Miss and Mississippi State both had a signee go. Ole Miss, their signee was drafted 3rd last night. Mississippi State's was drafted 29th. And so we'll see what happens today. Ty Madden, the fantastic Texas pitcher, was not drafted in the first round. And then with some bonus picks later, he was drafted by the Detroit Tigers. And insiders last night were going, I don't understand why Ty Madden. Some people had him top 10, by the way. Now, I want you to think about that. I mean, it's a pretty big drop. You know, Jack Leiter from Vanderbilt went 2nd. Kumar Rocker from Vanderbilt went to the Mets at 10. Again, Bednar, 14th. Gunnar Hoagland, 19th. Right? And Ty Madden didn't go until the quote-unquote 32nd pick. So, but, I mean, he's still going to sign for a ton of dough. But, I don't know. We'll see what happens today with Nikhazy. Blake said that, you know, he could go mid-second round. And Tanner Allen may hear his name called maybe in the, 3rd round, Blake?
Yeah, I've seen him
4th?
third and 4th, yeah.
Okay.
So Nikhazy's in like the 50s in most prospect rankings, and Tanner Allen, I think, was like around 130 or something like that. So,
I got you.
Right around there. I thought it was interesting, too, just doing the numbers of the 30 official kind of like first-round picks, 16 were high school players.
Oh, really?
So, 55% basically, give or take.
I just, the high school thing, it's, to me, there's just so much risk there.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they went in depth in the book Moneyball. The A's went high school, but Billy Beane, when he has since left, he's doing something with the Fenway Group. I think he's getting involved. The Fenway Group also owns a soccer team in Europe and blah, blah, blah. But he has since moved on after a big run with the Oakland A's. Bean did not like drafting high school players. Mm-hmm. He liked that 3-year kid coming out that had actually grown up a little bit, like a Bednar or a Hoagland or a, I know some of these guys are draft eligible after 2 years because of age. So many of them are held back in whatever grade, first, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. But there were how many high school kids again?
16 of the 31st.
That surprises me. You go from your prom to graduation
to the MLB
to riding on a bus with 22, 23, 25-year-olds.
Yeah.
And you run into a girl in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden you fall in love and your mind gets, and she's 5 years older than you. And look, when you go to these bars on the minor league baseball circuit, they know.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, they may not have a PhD in rocket science at the bar in wherever you are, America, but they figure out real quick the fresh meat, so to speak, that's 19 years old, just left high school and just got a $3.8 million signing bonus. It's not hard. Yeah. So anyway, that's a lot to me, but I would also have to believe, Blake, that so many of these kids are more refined and advanced because of playing so many more games now since they were 6 years old compared to 15, 30, 40 years ago when really guys had not played that many games.
No.
And especially if you were a multi-sport, which people recommend, but if you're a multi-sport athlete in 1984 and 88, 95, and even 2000, you're just not playing that many baseball games as you're growing up, even though you're dominating. Now today, the Mississippi State and Ole Miss signees that were drafted last night, they have played hundreds of games since they were 6 years old.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and to take that to football, just not to completely hijack the conversation, but it makes me think of Trey Lance, right? What are you going to get? Like when you talk about drafting quarterbacks, you mentioned Billy Bean liked to have somebody with a little bit more maturity on him. Bill Parcells has always had that kind of 30 starts in college mentality so that you understand what you get out of a quarterback. It's not Trey Lance's fault out of North Dakota State that they only had one game last year, but they only had one game last year.
He only threw it 300 times in college.
So what do you know what you're getting? Right?
Will Rogers threw it 60 in one game.
Yeah.
For Mike Leach.
And I know that's the opposite end of the spectrum, but look at Dak Prescott. He threw the ball 500, 600 times over his 3 years of starting, or 2.5, whatever it was. And so, you're talking about a whole different perspective on what you know about a player when you draft someone in high school instead of drafting someone in college. Same way as when you draft Daniel Jones after 1 year of starting at Duke. Right? Or you draft
Mitch Trubisky after 1 year of starting at North Carolina.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you trade up to get Mitch Trubisky, and you pass on Mahomes and Watson and other players.
Where is that GM? Is he in Siberia?
Yeah, right.
Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone. The SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by your local Farm Bureau insurance agent. They'll take care of you in any of the 82 counties in Mississippi. Bundle your auto and home insurance and go with the home team and go local with Farm Bureau Insurance. Hit favorites.com to get a quote, favorites.com. The Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line is 601-707-3750. So Bednar and Hoagland are off the board for Hail State and Ole Miss. Bednar to the San Francisco Giants and Hoagland to the Toronto Blue Jays. Kumar Rocker gone at 10. Jack Leiter gone at number 2. That's where we are with some Major League Baseball draft. We're getting closer to NFL camps opening up in a couple of weeks. And then, of course, before you know it, Matt Corral and Will Rogers will be leading their offenses on the field in practice in early August. It'll be really, really good and steamy and hot for that. We're expecting big things from both QBs, but this is Matt Corral's year to solidify himself as a first-round pick. And, my gosh, if Trey Lance can go early and Mac Jones, among others, really, I mean, you could argue outside of Trevor Lawrence, who knows what we're going to have with those four guys that were picked between 2 and 15 outside of Trevor Lawrence, right?
Yeah.
And with the demand, like I think the Saints are going to be in the market, right? There will be I think the Dolphins will be in the market. I don't think Tua is the answer in Miami. This is a make or break year for Baker Mayfield in Cleveland. Matt Ryan's getting older. Jared Goff, is he going to be here for 7-8 years, or will Dan Campbell / the Detroit Lions ruin him like they do everybody else that goes through Detroit? Well, we know that there's a lot of crazy going on in Green Bay, so we'll just see how that looks over the next couple of weeks with Aaron Rodgers, and will he report? Green Bay has a lot. They hold a lot more, I think, of the power than most fans think they do. He's under contract, and the bottom line is, I think that slightly favors Green Bay in this. No, I think it does favor Green Bay in this deal. And then you kind of go across, is Kyler Murray really the guy out in Arizona? I don't know. And then what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson? He has issues off the field too. So we'll see how that looks. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. On the Mississippi Ag text line, one of our listeners says Brett Favre is still a star. Happy Monday.
Yes, sir.
You are correct. Brett Favre is still a star. Even though some people don't like what he says when he goes on shows, I don't think Brett really cares. I wouldn't either. He's worth tens of millions of dollars and can kind of do what he wants. Does he kind of sound like a grumpy get off my lawn guy in some of the topics that people book him and bring him on for? Sure. Do I think that Brett's somewhat checked out a little bit? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do people still love him? The gunslinger? The guy who's from, nowhere, Mississippi, who goes to Southern Miss and then became a Hall of Famer he goes to the Atlanta Falcons for a cup of coffee, and he's very glad that he ended up with the Green Bay Packers.
Seriously.
Heck yeah. And Mike Holmgren, who was a Bill Walsh, Joe Montana disciple. I think it worked out for Brett Favre. But yes, Brett Favre is still a star. That is for sure. So is Aaron Rodgers. And
what's going to happen with this Aaron Rodgers thing? I mean, just the fact that it's still up in the air makes me think he's going to be in Green Bay for this season. I think
he'll eventually report. I do.
I do too.
I think he'll report and he'll do the deal, and maybe they'll move off of him in 2022.
Mm-hmm. Now,
the question will be who will be in the market for Aaron Rodgers next year. I don't know.
The Saints?
Well, would Green Bay be willing to move him to the NFC, or would they only do a deal with an AFC team? I think is the question.
Yeah.
Not sure that they would move him to NFC team.
I don't think they want to.
I think that they would rather move him to an AFC team. Can I tell you one other takeaway that I got from the book of Payton and Brees is that Sean Payton and Drew Brees run this super, super, super high-level, complex offense, right? And they have for years, and they're able to get away with it because of the way that Drew is wired, but also because they were together for so long. And there is something to that. They mention this in the book. John Gruden has tried to run an offense like the Saints run, and he can't because he can't land on a QB. He can't get along with a QB long enough, and he's not Sean Payton. And it is mentioned in there that Sean did take from John Gruden from 20-something years ago, but the reason why Gruden can't have the success on offense that a Sean Payton can have is Gruden's never going to have the guy like Drew Brees, Blake, for that long. Do you realize it took until year 3? I did not know this because I wasn't paying attention back then. It took until year 3 for them to be operating on all cylinders. 2008, the Green Bay Packers Monday night game, when they blew the doors off of Green Bay, and Green Bay was coming off of a 13-3 season, and they just ran them out of the Superdome.
Coming out party.
And that's when it all lined up for Sean Payton and Drew Brees, and they were running that thing at a level that I'm not even sure Sean thought that they could get to, but that they realized over those 3 years, Drew Brees can handle anything.
Well, and I wonder, you mentioned Gruden can't find that QB and can't settle on that guy. I just wonder how much longer Sean Payton coaches and what that looks like without Drew Brees. Because that's the thing, is like, we saw Brady and Belichick together for 20 years. We know what it is. It'll take some time to figure out what Belichick is without Brady, but it's a little bit different. With Sean Payton, his whole success hinges on his relationship with the quarterback and their ability to operate that offense at that efficiency level.
Yeah.
And I just don't know how you mimic that even 60, 70, 80%. I don't know if you had to put it like that, what percentage of this do you think Jameis can figure out and run and operate at the right level?
80?
I mean, see, that seems high. I don't know.
It may be. And, the Taysom Hill thing is a bunch of nonsense. So, Taysom Hill is not going to take a large number of reps and win. Okay?
No chance.
That's not how you win. And by the way, you know what my other takeaway was from the Peyton and Brees book? I can see now why Johnny Manziel never, ever, 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 ever had a shot to be successful. Okay? And because of the time, the commitment that Drew Brees puts in to being the quarterback of the New Orleans Saints. And Brady, okay, and Manning and Dak and Mahomes and Russell, okay? But as I'm reading this book, so I have to use Brees and Peyton as
the baseline. Yeah, I get you.
And now I realize why Johnny Manziel was never going to be successful in the NFL, because he was never going to consume 100 hours of film study per week during the season.
It takes me back to the DeMarcus Russell story about how the Raiders gave him a blank play tape and said, study these plays. And when he came back in the next day, they asked him what he thought. And he was like, yeah, I can run all those plays.
And there wasn't,
because he had never popped it in the DVR.
Well, and it also tells me how, so Johnny Manziel and Ryan Leaf were never going to make it in the NFL. Okay, commitment, right?
Yeah.
And there's others. There's plenty of others who are just not going to put in the work to really learn how to be an NFL QB.
And that position takes 10.
It's what I think Bartu has hit it. They don't develop you. You have to be willing to get there at 5:30 in the morning
and work yourself
and leave at 9 o'clock on Tuesday, which is everybody else's day off. And Brees religiously got in there before 6 a.m. into the Saints facility and did not leave until nighttime. Just on Tuesday, that did not count what he did Monday and then Wednesday through Saturday. By the way, the Saints, because of what Brees could handle mentally, didn't have to put the game plan together until sometimes late on Friday or even Saturday. And in the NFL, most of the game plans are done a lot of times by Wednesday night. Now, they're grinding like crazy, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to do that. But because of Brees's depth and ability to process an enormous amount of information, Sean could allow that to bleed into Thursday and Friday. And on Saturday nights, they meet at 9:15. Okay, 9:15 on Saturday.
Crazy.
Okay, the hay. Oh, and by the way, you know how you hear coaches talk about hay is in the barn? I'll get to the Saturday night thing in one thing. You know how coaches say, well, the hay is in the barn? Carmichael and Lombardi, the OC and the quarterback coach, said that that Sean and Drew did not believe in the hay is in the barn.
Not until that clock said 0.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when they get together on Saturday night at 9:15,
still prepping.
A lot of times they will tweak some things knowing that the Saints play all the time at noon. I feel like now they have grabbed big time primetime games but I want you to think about being there at 9:15 on a Saturday night, knowing that you're going to play at noon the next day, and Sean and Drew could be still debating and discussing some of the game plan against the Dallas Cowboys or San Francisco 49ers or Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because Drew could process that much information.
I don't think that's even common, though. I think a lot of QBs process a lot of information, and it's easy to say, well, Manning and Brady are like that, and maybe they are. But I think that's a 1% of 1% of QBs.
I agree. And I also think, Blake, the reason why Johnny Manziel, Matt Leinart, and Mark Sanchez were never going to make it because of the commitment level and the commitment quotient that it takes. And the reason why that Cam Newton and Michael Vick were able to make it was just because their physical ability was so off the charts that they could make it for a while without the investment in really learning the game. Remember what Vic said when he got out of prison and he finally went with Andy Reid? He said, I've never watched tape.
Yep.
I've never watched film. And Andy sat down with him and said, look, as an NFL quarterback, this is when they were with the Eagles, by the way, not with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
But Andy Reid sat him down and said, this is what it takes to play quarterback in the NFL.
At the bare minimum. That's what, I mean, you have to be putting in those hours.
And Eli Manning and a Dak Prescott are going to put in those hours. Two guys from the state of Mississippi. Will Matt Corral? We'll see. Matt Corral has the physical ability. He has the arm. He can throw the deep ball. He's got what you're looking for as far as extending the play and mobility and breaking out of the pocket and keeping his eyes downfield and what the NFL is looking for today, what we see from Mahomes, Russell, and Dak. Hey, I can move out of the pocket. I can still throw a strike to Amari Cooper and get you 15 yards, right? I'm not a phone booth. But that's the question. And like the guys that we're talking about, Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance,
Justin Fields,
Mac Jones, right? I mean, are these guys going to go that deep into film study for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours?
Well, even Mahomes had mentioned like he wasn't doing that before he got to Kansas City with Andy Reid because he didn't understand what he was looking at defensively and everything to the extent that he does now. He's talked about that after his first season of starting. You know, it's one of those things that it's not everybody is born with that mentality, and I think you're going to see more and more an appreciation for what Drew Brees brought cerebrally to the game as you realize what you don't have now, right? It's always sweeter once it's gone.
And John Gruden is so far from Sean Payton or ever finding his Drew Brees. It's Blake.
Oh, the Raiders it's a walking disaster.
And you know what? I think these young coaches, they're like little Sean Paytons, McVay and Shanahan.
Yeah.
They're not going to put up with it.
Nope.
If you can't go where they want to go, PhD level wise, as far as offense.
That's why the Rams mortgaged everything to get rid of Jared Goff.
They're literally going to move off of you, and they're going to move on. That's why I wonder what's going to happen with Baker Mayfield in Cleveland, Blake. You know, what is he really willing to do with this new coach that people are crazy about? Stefanski or something?
Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah. Evidently, he's another whiz kid, right? Like some of these dudes. And, you know, are you willing to invest that much time? Because they're not going to develop you. You have to invest that much time. And Drew Brees did. He's an absolute freak, by the way. I mean, I knew he was a freak, but then I read the book and I'm like, what? The Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent and hit favrates.com to get a quote in 4 minutes or less. Tom Luganville, 8:30.